Hey, and welcome back to another video. This is the Nokia 5730 XpressMusic from 2009, a mid-range full QWERTY slider phone from the legendary Nokia XpressMusic series of music-oriented phones. This phone is considerably hard to find in the United States and was not as popular as the other phones in the XpressMusic lineup. However, it is still a very interesting device that definitely needs the spotlight 13 years onwards. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at the Nokia 5730 and seeing what it's like using it here in the present day. This is using the Nokia 5730 XpressMusic here in 2022. And of course, before jumping right in, don't forget to smash that like button down below as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. If you have any comments to leave regarding this video, if you have any opinions or anything you'd like to discuss, don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Or if you have any questions regarding this phone, also leave that comment down below and I can answer your question or we can start a discussion. My social media is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into this video. Alright, so let us now start off with a bit of history on the device. So it was announced in March of 2009 and released in June of 2009 and is the only QWERTY phone in the XpressMusic lineup. There are other sliders in the lineup, but this one is the only full QWERTY device. It was launched with a price tag of about 150 euros, which was mid-range at the time, and it came in 4 colors, which is red, monochrome like this one, blue, and pink as well. And it was not released in the United States as far as I can tell, and this thing is extremely hard to find in the US, which but you can actually get these from China, but they're refurbed, and you know my stance on refurbed phones on this channel. If you're a regular, you know that I hate them and they're just replacement crappy parts. I just don't like them. I'd rather have a used one with a bunch of scratches than a refurbished unit, and this one I got really lucky because this was in, I think it was Florida or California, and I got it for quite cheap. If I find the original listing, I'll put it up here. So it was quite cheap as well, and I saw immediately that it wasn't a refurb and it was just a used unit. It's charging port cover, the micro USB cover is coming off like that, but as you can see, it is in really good shape regardless of its age. And my biggest point is that it's not a refurb. So yeah, very hard to find in the United States. It definitely was released in Europe and in Asia. And when I was a kid, I remember I was at cricket practice and there was this senior who had this phone, and I had the 5800 at the time. And that senior guy, he had this phone, and I used to stare at it sometimes. I actually asked him, can I mess with it? And I did use it a bit. That was such a long time ago. It was like 2010-ish, it was 12 years ago. And ever since then, ever since I saw that phone, I really liked its keypad and I always wanted one. But it's been a long time to get this, and I finally did get my hands on one. I could have bought one of the refurbs, but then again, I don't like them. And when I posted this online on some forums, some people didn't even recognize it and didn't even know what it was. So definitely quite an obscure phone, not as popular as all the other XpressMusic devices. But yeah, that's just the quick history on this thing. It didn't break the news or anything like that. It didn't sell all that well. I can't find any of the sales figures online. If I do find them later, I'll put them up here, but I doubt it I will. It's not something that's sold like hotcakes. It wasn't produced in mass numbers as far as I can tell. But yeah, some people have not really heard of this phone at all. It's just the 5800 and all the other phones that were way more popular in the XpressMusic lineup. But yeah, that was just a quick history on the Nokia 5730 XpressMusic. Now, when I was using this phone for the past few weeks, well, it was actually about a week and a half, I really like the build quality and feel of this phone. It feels really nice in the hand. It has somewhat sharp edges, but that didn't really bother me. The build quality on this phone is exceptional. It's not as good as built as an N97, of course, that's an ultra premium phone, but this thing is actually built really nice. The sharp edges really didn't bother me. The buttons feel really nice and all that stuff. The keyboard is a bit subjective. Some people like raised keyboards. This one is a flush, flat keyboard, as you can see there. And if you have more rounded pads on your fingers, it'll be easier to type rather than if you had flatter pads. But it still feels really nice. I really like the tactile feedback of this keyboard. Let me bring it closer. Really nice and clicky, these buttons. As you can see, they're really nice and clicky and they feel really good as well. So I really enjoyed the experience on this phone in terms of build quality and stuff. It feels good. I mean, the slider, of course, is the weak point of this phone and it could break if you drop it. But then again, it's Nokia build quality. It's a bit tougher than the competition. It feels solid, and the sliding mechanism, let me bring it closer again. Really solid and really nice. Let us now have a quick go around of the device itself. So you saw the main keyboard over here. We have a earpiece over here and a small sensor there as well. And the front facing camera, Nokia branding, XpressMusic branding. We also have some music controls over here. So previous song or the next song, and we have our play pause over here as well. And when you press it, they light up, as you can see. And if you press the center button, sometimes it goes into the music player, but it doesn't seem to want to do that now, which is kind of weird. Sometimes when you press this, it goes into the music player, but it is what it is. It lights up there as well. And then we have the main buttons over here as well. And this actually, the selection button, around the selection button, as you can see here, there's actually a light, which is indicative of the notifications or whatever you have set it up for. It's usually used for notifications. Moving on to the bottom of the device, we have a place to put our lanyard strap. We have our slimmer barrel charger. However, this thing also can charge off micro USB. We have quite a large cutout for the microphone. On this side, we have our double press camera shutter button, so half press to focus and the full press to take a photo. We have our volume rockers over here, and these buttons are also really tactile and feel really nice. At the top, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack. And on this side, we have the micro USB port for syncing and charging. And we have a micro SD expansion as well. The flaps are missing, as you can see, and I have the micro USB port flap over there. It just keeps coming off, so I took it out for this video. And at the back of the device, we have our 3.2 megapixel autofocus Carl Zeiss lens camera. So as you can see, it says Carl Zeiss Tessa 2.8 by 3.7, 3.2 megapixels autofocus with a single LED flash and the camera, Nokia branding, and nothing else, just a bit of sort of textured dots at the top and bottom, as you can see there. So that was just a quick go around of the device itself. Overall, a very, very nice, unique feeling device with its sort of sharp edges, and it honestly feels great in the hand, and it's definitely an eye catcher because it looks a bit different when compared to other slider phones. It's more sleek, and it's got this very nice keyboard as well. So the display on this thing is actually really nice because they managed to cram the full 16 million color complement onto this display. It is a TFT LCD technology, of course, but still with the 16 million colors, it looks really nice. It's towards the smaller side at 2.4 inches like that diagonally, and has a resolution of 240 by 320 pixels, so 240 pixels by 320 pixels, and a 4:3 aspect ratio, which gives it a pixel density of about 167 pixels per inch. It also can be used in landscape mode when the keyboard is open for extended functionality, which makes that even more sweeter. And I'm used to older displays like this, which are smaller and have a lower pixel density, so I was just perfectly fine with using this here today. It is also extremely bright, and this is medium brightness, honestly, but as you can see, it's quite bright. So that helps with sunlight performance a lot and max brightness. The colors are also very accurate, and they're decently sharp for what it is, 167 pixels per inch. It's not going to be overly sharp, but it is what it is. Looking at photos on this thing is just perfectly fine, including the photos that you take with the rear-facing camera. Overall, a very solid display for what this phone is. Of course, they didn't go all out on this thing and give it an IPS LCD display. They had to actually keep the cost down to a mid-range. But it's still nice that they included the full 16 million colors. Overall, a very solid display as far as when I was using it goes. Alright, so the tech specs on this thing start off with the processor, which is a single core processor, of course, which is an ARM11 based processor clocked in at 369 megahertz. Probably a Texas Instruments processor again. Now, I've said in my previous videos, most likely the processors on Nokia phones are Texas Instruments processors, because they did hire Texas Instruments to manufacture a lot of their processors. So single core ARM11 based, most likely Texas Instruments, 369 megahertz. This thing also has a micro SD expansion slot up to about 32 gigs, and it also came with an 8 gig card in the box. However, when I got this phone, I think this one's card was missing, or I took it out, or I cannot find it. Anyway, I have a ton of memory cards, so I don't know where it is. Can't really remember if it came with it to begin with, but there's an 8 gig card included in the box, and you can upgrade it up to 32 gigs for extended storage. Of course, it's an XpressMusic phone. You need a lot of storage for music and videos and all of that stuff. It has an internal storage of about 100 megs usable by the user. It's probably about 256 megs, but everything else is taken by the OS. So 100 megs usable by the user, and it also has 128 megs of RAM. So pretty basic specs, but then again, it is a smartphone from 2009. Didn't need too much specs. It runs Symbian after all, so Symbian is one of the more lighter operating systems historically speaking. So those were just the quick tech specs on the device. Now, the operating system on this device is of course Symbian, and more specifically Symbian OS 9.3 running on the S60 platform, and it is the 3rd edition as well. So Symbian 9.3 S60 3rd edition. Let me pull up the star hash 40 command. There we go. So those are the details: software version date, custom version, blah blah blah, RM 465. Latest update not updated. So this is your main home screen. Of course, all of this can be customized, and it switches into landscape mode when you open the keyboard as well. You already know that. So just a bunch of settings there, a bunch of options there for your using needs. All of this again is customizable, which is really nice. You press this button to go into the menu, and this is your old school Symbian layout. Nothing new. If you're a regular on this channel, you've seen this like 500 times now. Calendar, contacts, log, internet messaging, gallery, download, music, maps, settings, help, and apps. Under apps, of course, we have our extras, we have camera and all that stuff, real player, photos. The previous owner has not really downloaded much on this thing, or he probably reset it when he sent it over, so most of the extras have been erased. Under settings, we have our usual stuff, we have profiles and all that. Out of the box, there's not much of a selection of themes. There are just 2 there, but of course you can download all these themes. You have standby, wallpaper, power saver, and all those stuff. We have audio themes as well, and all that good stuff. Menu view, of course, you can change this stuff as well to your different types of menu view, and a lot of people aren't very familiar with this, but some Nokias can actually do more than grid and list. It can also do horseshoe, including this one. As you can see, it is in a horseshoe pattern, and you use these buttons to get it, and some people may like it. It's easier for one-handed use if you just want to use 2 buttons. You also have a V shape. There you go, so you can use that. Not all Nokias have this option, but some do, and this one is definitely one of those, but I just like the grid pattern, which is your old school simple pattern. We have gallery over here, so we have our media and all that stuff. There's no dedicated XpressMusic button on this phone like on the touchscreen ones, but you can sometimes press the play pause button to go into music, but it doesn't want to do that always. It could be a software error, but yeah, you can double press to start playing instantly, but when you just press it once, sometimes it goes into the music player. But then again, I may have to configure that from settings, but then again, it does it at random, so it's kind of strange, but it is what it is. But those are your quick options for music playback, and of course the volume rocker is over here. They didn't have to put a separate set of volume rockers over there. That's just a nice touch, but it doesn't have the quick XpressMusic button there as well. So that's just a quick overview of the interface. Nothing new. It's your good old Symbian interface. You've probably seen this like 500 times, but at this point, if you're a regular on this channel, your good old Symbian interface. It is now time to talk about the camera on this thing, and you may be a bit familiar with this thing's camera because it's very identical to the Nokia 5800's camera. Because if you have used a 5800 like I have, you would see that the photos taken by this camera are very identical, which makes the camera on this thing kind of dated, because this is from 2009 and the 5800 is from 2008, but still, regardless, it's a good camera. So the camera on this thing is a 3.15 megapixel autofocus camera with Carl's Eyes optics and a single LED flash. The 5800 had two LED flashes, so yeah, this thing has just the single LED flash with the magnifier, as you can see there, to make the flash look a bit brighter. And it can record video at 480p at 30 FPS as well. It also has a front-facing camera, as you can see there, which is a QVGA front-facing camera. You can use it for video calling and whatever. So let us now go into the camera interface, and it is your old school Symbian camera interface. And here is your interface. So it's your basic Nokia camera interface. You have your scene modes, flash, timer, blah, 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 the usual stuff. You can switch to the front camera from here as well. And as you can see, my front camera has some dust in it, so the photos from the front camera are not going to be ideal, but I'll still post them. As you can see, it works just fine. We have video mode over there. You can switch back to the main camera as well. Your general layout, stuff I showed you already, battery indicator, megapixel count, number of photos remaining or number of minutes on video remaining. A pretty decent interface with some decent settings as well. You can change all of this stuff. You can actually customize this toolbar, as you can see there. So a pretty decent camera interface. You've probably seen this already on my previous videos, very identical to some of the other Symbian phones as well. The photos that this phone takes are actually really nice, very identical to the 5800. There may be smaller differences, but the 5800 took some really good photos. Like I've told previously, I owned a 5800 for about 2 years. I still have that phone, but I used it for 2 years. It's back home. Maybe I'll feature it in a future video, but I don't have access to it now. And I used that phone for about 2.5 years ish. And it was an amazing phone. The camera was really good. And this thing is no different. So here are the photos followed by video samples taken from the rear camera and the front camera in 3, 2, 1. So as you saw with those camera samples, this thing can actually take some really nice photos. Regardless, it is time now to move on to the speaker and ringtones, and you'd think that this thing, being an XpressMusic phone, will have dual stereo speakers. That's not the case. This thing actually has a hidden speaker, a single mono firing speaker. It is a good speaker, it's a good mono speaker. Of course, they did it quite well, and it's really loud, but I'm very surprised they didn't put stereo speakers in this thing. But then again, a lot of money went for other stuff, and at that price range, maybe it's something they skipped out on. But the speaker in this thing is still quite good. So let us listen to it. It's actually hidden somewhere around in this area. You can't really see it, so it's it's a bit strange that they included it built into the phone's body and not even just kind of pointing out in one place. But it is what it is. And don't also forget to stay tuned for the full nostalgic ringtones video that I'll do on this phone in a few weeks time. So definitely stay tuned for that. We'll be covering some ringtones now, but not all the ringtones. The nostalgic ringtones video will cover all the ringtones as a whole. So let's max out the volume here. And we will go ahead and start playing some tunes, and we're not going to play all of them. Definitely all of them will be played in the ringtones video, which will come in a few weeks. So max volume and Nokia tune. So as you can hear, the speaker is very, very loud. It's a bit tinny. I mean, it's a mono speaker, so what can you expect? But it is extremely loud and would perfectly be fine for listening to music on the go in this XpressMusic setup here. I mean, sure, it would have been a bit better to have side-firing stereo speakers, but hey, they had to cut down at some point. But yeah, those are the speakers on the Nokia 5730 XpressMusic. Stay tuned for the full ringtones video, which will come up in a few weeks as well. So now let us talk about the extra features on this thing, and this thing is actually loaded. Now, one of the first features that I really like about this phone is the breathing light feature, the light around the ring here. Let me put that video up again. Here it goes. So I really like that. I think it's a very unique feature, something that modern phones of course don't have. A few of them will have a small light somewhere, but it's not something that you see quite often now. Instead, you have the always on display and stuff like that. Another good feature of this phone is of course the volume control, the music controls, as you can see there. So the music play, pause, fast forward, blah blah with its own light setup, as you can see there. So really nice to have the music controls on the side. They're really handy as well. So definitely a extra feature. This thing has Wi-Fi as well with UPnP technology, Bluetooth 2.0 with A2DP. This thing also has a GPS, so it has GPS with Nokia Maps, stereo FM radio with RDS, and it doesn't, as far as I can tell, does not have USB on the go via the micro USB port. It was a bit too old to have that, but later Nokia Asha phones did have USB on the go. Everything else is like document editors and all that stuff. It has Real Player, blah blah. It has Nokia Say and Play, which is sort of a voice control music player kind of thing. It's called Nokia Say and Play. Not very popular. I have not really read much on it, but let me know down in the comment section if you know what that is. I have not gone into the details of it, but I have heard of it in the past, so that's there as well. And just a bunch of other extra features were just built into the software where you can expand upon via apps. I mean, you can count the keyboard as an extra feature as well. Of course, a really nice keyboard with this dot matrix-ish pattern like thing with the dots forming the letters. Very nice. And overall, just a good selection of features for a mid-range phone. I wouldn't call it a budget phone. Again, it's a mid-range phone at the $150 price range back in 2009. So yeah, those were the extra features on this phone. There's just too much to talk about, and most of it is software based, but yeah, that is what. The camera shutter button, you can call it a feature as well. But yeah, now let us move on to battery and power. Alright, now moving on to battery and power, let's take a closer look at the battery bay here. As you can see, it says made by Nokia, which is most likely made in Korea, because I've seen on a few other phones that were made by Nokia and were said to be made in Korea. So it's most likely Korea, but it also could be Finland or Hungary for all I know. RM485, that is the RM number of this phone, RM485, model 5730S-1, so that is the battery bay. The battery on this thing is again the good old BL4U, which is a very staple battery from the 2010s in Nokia devices. A very good battery overall, very flexible, and even today a great battery to power on even other phones. This thing can actually power some other phones as well, provided they have a 3-prong setup like that. So with this battery, which is again a 1000 milliamp hour battery, it can have a standby time of 300 hours on 2G and about 270 hours on 3G, and a talk time of 5 hours on 2G, and a talk time of about 4.5 hours on 3G, and its music playback time is about 25 hours. So decent battery performance. It's not like Nokia 5800 kind of battery performance. The 5800 had a better battery life than this thing, but in terms of Nokia, it is a decent battery performance. In terms of other phones, this is considered to be a really good battery life. That was like the average for some other phones, but in Nokia terms, yeah, it's okay. It'll get you through the day. That's about all I can say about the battery on this thing. So yeah, as far as that goes, that's all I can say about the Nokia 5730 XpressMusic. A very interesting phone, something that I've waited years to get my hands on, and I finally do have one, which is great. Definitely stay tuned for the upcoming nostalgic ringtones video, which I'll cover on this phone, and maybe a few shorts videos here and there as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you honestly did, don't forget to smash that like button down below, as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also don't forget to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the 5730. Do you own one? Do you plan on getting one? Or anything else you'd like to let me know. If you have any questions as well, my social media is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.